Welcome back to my series on whitewashing history and Black resistance. Today we'll explore the 1850s. When Uncle Tom's Cabin was first published in 1852, it became an instant bestseller. It's a heart-wrenching novel about slavery that contains some pretty gritty illustrations too. It launched a new wave of hysteria over abolitionism, some of which focused in on school books. The topic was covered in newspapers across the nation and at conventions. Activists, ministers, and politicians all weighed in on the subject. Reverend C.K. Marshall was perhaps the most devoted crusader against abolitionist textbooks. He focused the brunt of his criticism on a geography book titled Appleton's Complete Atlas of the World. Reverend Marshall disapproved of the author's emphasis on the mistreatment of the enslaved. The author states, "In the southern states, where the culture of cotton and rice is so largely carried on, the field labor is for the most part performed by black slaves, a race of beings who are understood to be worse treated in the American states than in any other part of the world." To Reverend Marshall's horror, the author also states that the enslaved have a right to revolt, saying that there's not any doubt that the time is rapidly approaching when they will, by their own bravery, wrest their independence from their American masters upon the same principle and with the same justice that the Americans wrested their independence from the British government. Judge John Perkins Jr. was also a harsh critic. He examined a wide variety of textbooks and disapproved of them all, saying, "From the frightful pictures of slaves at work under the lash which ornament the Child's Book, up to the sickly sentimentalism of their class readers, there is a constant effort to impress the youthful mind with the idea that slavery is a great sin." He also had a problem with government textbooks, claiming, "They all gloss over and misrepresent, in a manner calculated to deceive, the rights of the slaveholder under the Constitution." Several critics disapproved of books by Samuel Goodrich. The criticism was apparently taken to heart, as several revisions were made. In A Pictorial History of the United States, this image of barely clothed Africans arriving in Virginia in 1619 was removed altogether, as were several paragraphs on slavery. Despite incredible opposition, Black Americans and their allies resisted these attempts at erasure. Many individuals, including Frederick Douglass and Solomon Northup, published personal accounts of their lived experiences, even though doing so could be dangerous. William Cooper Nell wrote history books specifically about Black Americans and their contribution to their nation. Abolitionist groups also continued to publish books and magazines for adults and children. Some individuals sued for their freedom, like Dred Scott, his wife Harriet, and their daughters Eliza and Lizzie. Thousands of enslaved Black Americans emancipated themselves, as you can see in the runaway slave ads published across the country. Black Americans also fought for their freedom at Harper's Ferry with John Brown and other allies. All of them made the ultimate sacrifice. I hope you learned something new and interesting today. Next time we're going to talk about school books in the Confederate States of America.